Hello guys, today we are going to be talking about the death of Christopher Robinson that took place in Rikers Island in 2008. Before we jump in, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Rikers Island, 2008, like any other year, was a time that was dangerous for anyone to step foot in. Like many other jail facilities, the inmates often have more power and authority than the guards, being that the guards can only see but so much, and is typically not given information from the inmates. A lot of crimes go unknown. Unfortunately, in many jail facilities, there are guards who willingly work with these inmates and will go as far as bringing in contraband, denying inmates rights to food, or even sexual intercourse. During 2008 in Rikers Island, jail guards decided to partake in another form of unethical agreements known as extortion. It is claimed that two officers served as managers for a group called the Program at the Robert N. Davern Center. These officers handed over control of maintaining order to a group of inmates known as the Team, whom they personally chose. In return for keeping the unit orderly, the officers allowed the team to extort personal belongings from other inmates and to use various forms of coercion. Additionally, it is alleged that the officers took steps to hide evidence of these activities. According to investigators, inmates who cooperated with the program agreed to forfeit a percentage of the funds in their commissary accounts and some of their phone privileges to the foot soldiers and enforcers of the program. Victimized inmates could also be forced to surrender their shoes or clothing. Inmates who refused to comply with the program faced assaults by the inmate enforcers, with the two guards often designating the date, time, location, and method of the beating. The guards allegedly facilitated these assaults by granting the enforcers access to secluded areas within the housing unit. The indicted correction officers are also accused of attempting to cover up their involvement by failing to intervene, making false reports about the assaults, directing victims to provide false reports, and using violence or threats to ensure continued compliance with the program. Christopher Robinson was born on June 1, 1990, growing up in East New York. Due to his father being incarcerated, it is said that he looked to his grandfather and uncles as male role models throughout his upbringing. It is also said that Christopher grew up being an athlete, as he would be a part of the police athletic flag football team. As the years passed, Christopher would attend Franklin K. Lane High School, where he would excel in math and have plans of becoming an accountant. Christopher's father was released from prison when he was 15. It is alleged that after his father's release, he decided to move upstate with his significant other he had been seeing since incarceration. According to his mother, Christopher began to rebel, knowing that his father didn't want to build a relationship with him, and he would get into situations such as stealing phones from a store. In 2007, Christopher Robinson was arrested and charged with cell phone burglary. Granted eligibility for parole, Christopher spent his time working at Staples, an office supply retailer located Sheepshead Bay. According to his mother, Christopher missed his curfew by working overtime, which led to a parole violation. Christopher would then be arrested and sent back to Rikers awaiting his next court hearing. On October 18, 2008, Christopher Robinson, at just 18, would become a victim of the extortion organization, as he would be forced to submit. Christopher refused to submit to the extortion, and it would unfortunately cost him his life. According to witnesses, there were officers who allowed 3 inmates to brutally beat Christopher for refusing, as they would turn a blind eye. After the beating, it was said that the officers then refused Christopher treatment by the jail infirmary. Christopher would soon succumb to his injuries, passing at the age of 18. It was reported that when the correction officers called Christopher's family, they said that he apparently died in his sleep. Following up with that statement, they asked if he had any conditions such as asthma, according to his family. According to the jail, no security cameras captured the beating. During the time of the investigation, New York City Department of Correction Commissioner Martin Horn stated, "The death of Christopher Robinson was tragic and shocking. If the charges against correction officers are true, they are a stain on the well-earned reputations of officers who perform their difficult and dangerous tasks every day with integrity and compassion." Even with more than 100,000 people in our custody every year, Christopher Robinson's death was the first homicide in a city jail in 4 years. Yet it is one death too many. The city's jails are safer than ever, but that is not enough. We will continue our efforts to make every person in our jail safe, and I send a message to all of our staff. Those few who fail to live up to their oath of office and our standards will not be tolerated. This broad indictment charged Correction Officer Michael McKee, 31, from Brooklyn, Correction Officer Khalid Nelson, 34, from Staten Island, and inmates Joseph Hutchinson, 18, from Manhattan, Anquan Bryant, 18, from the Bronx, John Bay, 18, from Queens, Quashawn Babrow, 17, from Brooklyn, and Traquan Washington, 18, from the Bronx. Enterprise corruption. If convicted of this Class B felony, the defendants face a maximum sentence of up to 25 years in prison. The indictment additionally charges Bryant, Hutchinson, and Shadden Beswick, 18, from the Bronx, with manslaughter in the first degree, gang assault in the first and second degrees, and assault in the second degree related to the death of Christopher Robinson. If convicted of manslaughter, the most serious charge in connection with Robinson's death, Bryant, Hutchinson, and Beswick each face a maximum sentence of up to 25 years in prison. Beswick, however, was not charged with enterprise corruption. The third correction officer, Denise Albright, 43, from Manhattan, has been charged with conspiracy in the fourth and fifth degrees, assault in the second degree, coercion in the first and second degrees, and attempted grand larceny in the second degree. Although Albright was not charged with enterprise corruption, it is alleged that she acted in concert with her colleagues McKee, Nelson, and others in connection with an inmate assault on August 27, 2008. If convicted of assault in the second degree, the most serious charge, she faces a maximum sentence of up to 15 years in prison. Lastly, 6 other inmates also faced conspiracy and other charges stemming from this investigation. After pleading guilty, the 2 correctional officers in charge of the extortion organization were sentenced to 1 year for Khalid Nelson and 2 years for Michael McKee.
The program. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace outside Bronx Criminal Court in the Concourse Village with much more on this story. Sarah.
Well, Liz, the program, also known as the Gladiator School, teenage inmates on Rikers Island directed by correction officers to extort money from other young inmates. One who did not agree, Christopher Robinson, was beaten and stomped to death. Today, in a surprise move, 2 officers pleaded guilty just before they were set to go on trial.
It's a bit overwhelming. I do feel they're the most responsible, because they allowed these inmates to commit these crimes.
The death of Charnel Robinson's 18-year-old son Christopher at the adolescent jail on Rikers Island 3 years ago sparked one of the most sensational scandals ever to strike a city agency. 3 correction officers accused of running an extortion scheme, recruiting inmates in a type of fight club to beat up other inmates like Christopher Robinson who didn't comply. 2 of the 3 officers, Michael McKee and Khalid Nelson, pleaded guilty today to felony assault-related charges. Even though they'll only serve 1 to 2 years in prison, the Robinson family attorney says they are satisfied.
You have prison guards involved in a scheme with prisoners to extort prisoners? This is unacceptable.
After Robinson's death, we uncovered internal correction intelligence documents showing that officials had been warned about widespread gang extortion and done little to quell it. 12 inmates were indicted as part of the criminal enterprise. So far, 5 have pleaded guilty. Charnel Robinson has been at every court date and will be in the future.
Just the love I have for him and him being my only child, I feel like I owe it to him, no matter how I feel personally.
To go every
time. That's all I can, this is the last thing I can do as a mom for him.
By the way, Robinson was in jail for a minor probation violation. The 2 officers will be sentenced in January. A 3rd officer has a court date next week, and the 7 remaining inmates will be tried separately. Live from the Concourse Village, Sarah Wallace, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
After the sentencing, Christopher's mom, Ms. Robinson, stated, "I'll never see him again. It's not justice. It's unfair." During the time of this sentencing, 5 inmates named in the indictment pleaded guilty. 7 additional inmates and a 3rd former correction officer, Denise Albright, were still awaiting trial. Ms. Albright faces charges including assault and conspiracy. Nearly 4 years after 18-year-old Christopher Robinson was found beaten to death in his Rikers Island cell, his mother, Charnel Robinson, will receive a $2 million settlement from the city. The settlement was announced by the family's lawyer in June of 2012. Charnel Robinson remarked that while financial compensation is significant, it could not alleviate her pain or replace the loss of her son and the life they once had. The lawsuit, which is seeking class action status, claimed that the city's jails are marred by a pervasive pattern of brutality, where guards regularly use excessive force against inmates suspected of rule violation. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel so we can push out more content. Also, drop a comment and tell us what you think or any other videos you would like to see. Until next time.